Good afternoon, good day to everybody once again. I'm just going to quickly pick up from where we stopped from, right? And the goal again is to try to complete the Learn Next.js app, that Learn Next.js course created by Basil here. So it allows us to build, all these things, and we've started building this for a while now. And I think today should be like the part 4, where we are focusing on the chapter 11 to chapter 16, right? Where we're going to be adding the search feature and the pagination. So that is where we're going to start from. But before we start, I just wanted to do like a quick recap of like where we were, like what we did in the last time. So the last time we understood, the last time out, we did something around, there is this loading.tsx, right, that you can add, right? There's this loading.tsx that you can now incorporate into your your project. And the loading.tsx helps us to do partial rendering or something, like it allows you to, so pending the time your pages is trying to load on the server, right, fetching the data, right, it can allow you to have this, this UI. So this UI is going to be rendered so that your user can feel that the page has already started loading, right? That's what your this loading.tsx file does for us, and also works alongside with the convention that we have already in Nextjs, where you have the page.tsx, you have the loading.tsx, and you also have like the layout.tsx, right? These are conventions that you have in your app router, most especially with Nextjs version 14 upward, right? So with your loading.tsx, you can implement a partial rendering loading mechanism, right? And also it also allows us to do something like something using your suspense, right? For anybody who is hearing suspense for the first time, we have something we call suspense in React, right? That helps us to suspend, like you can suspend like your rendering and give it a fallback, right? So you can suspend the process of rendering, you're waiting for something to come back, and you're going to show this, right, component. You're going to show this component there, right, while you're waiting for this particular component to come back. So in this situation, right, suspense here is going to load this card, selecting here, and it's going to be waiting for Next.js to sort of like resolve our data and send us a UI that can be rendered by React. So this card wrapper, right, contains of a server-side component that is, it's going to be rendered inside your Node.js, right? It will be rendered, the data will be fetched and rendered and converted into like string, and it will be streamed down to our browser for our browser to use, so that you can now see what is going on there. So if I do the refresh here, now you will see this collecting UIs, right, popping up on me, right, for like 3 seconds, and then immediately my data is available, like the full rendering sort of like finish, like the full rendering sort of happens there. And that's like, you can see, like, I mean, this is, very fast. If I put this in Chrome and we check the performance, I would have loved to put this inside Chrome for us to check the performance. So this is localhost 3000. So when I mean check the performance, means that we are sort of like implementing Lighthouse to check the performance of this. Let's go to the dashboard route in itself, and we can do like is it Lighthouse? And I think there should be the Lighthouse here. So we can analyze the page, right? It analyzes the page, and then it does like, so what this does is like we're using Lighthouse to just calculate like the performance of, just to evaluate what this, to evaluate or like what this page is going to return back. And if you look at it, right, um it's not bad, right? On the first go, right, it's not bad, because, and these are interesting things that you want to factor in, right? The time to the first content to be rendered, to be painted, right, is 1.3 seconds, and this is way much more better. And then when you look at the largest content, right, how many seconds did it take to render the largest content in our UI, right? This is 1.8 seconds, and this is, I mean, it's not the best, but at least it's, and then we have this total blocking time of 3,500 milliseconds, and you have zero cumulative shifts there. Chrome didn't collect any snapshot during development. Just make sure there is content that visible on the page, and try relearning the Lighthouse. But I feel like, so these are other important things that Chrome is pointing out. The minimize main thread, right? So if you minimize the main thread, I think we can consider to minimize what is going on in the main thread. Then we can reduce JavaScript execution time as well, right, by 30 seconds. And so if we want to really see what is going on there, right, the main major thing here is the it's taking like this minute here. I mean, it's not bad, right? To render the dashboard is taking this amount of time here, and these values are not bad at all, right? And no, not bad at all. They are very, very, very fine, not bad at all. Then we have the eliminate rendering blocking. So what is blocking our rendering? Larger part of what is blocking the rendering, it comes from CSS. So I don't know what we can do to reduce this. But that's interesting to know. Then you can page prevented back and forth caching restoration for failures. Yeah, because we are not caching, right? Pages with WebSocket cannot enter into back and forth cache. So we are not caching, right? If we start caching things, these values are going to improve a lot. And it also tells us that we can minify our CSS, we can minify the JavaScript itself, and we can also avoid, you can also reduce unused JavaScript. So I mean, all these are coming from our Chrome extension. So that's not so. But again, the idea of this is, major thing here is around the fact that these values here, these two values here are key, right? The time it took for first content to paint, and the time it took for us to have the largest content for painting here, is very, very crucial and very important there. So it's the advantage that React server-side component brings to, the way we write React. And also we are looking forward to React version 19, where we're going to be having like the ability to use the full-fledged power of React server-side components. So this is brilliant. Today again, um we are going to, so last episode we implemented the loading.tsx a lot there. And what did we do again? Yeah, we sort of added the ability to not cache, right, on the server side with the no cache, right? We added the no store, which helps us not to cache data. And we started delaying the response from the server by 3 seconds, right? We started delaying the response from the server by 3 seconds. And and we moved our fetching of data into our component, right? We moved the fetching of data into our component. And basically that's all like we were able to achieve in the last episode. So today I'm going to just be diving fast into how to implement search and pagination. And we're just going to see what we can learn, right? How do we implement search? And how do we implement search? So we're implementing the search into our again, once again, if you're joining me for the first time, this is my name is Oluwashit Emiojo, right? And my goal here is to try to just teach you, show you some things that happens within JavaScript, React, Nextjs, and all these other technologies. And I mean, I'm just here to like, sort of like some things I'm supposed to learn personally on my own. So I decided to just learn it on this stream. And eventually, when I'm done learning, I can go ahead and build something. So the technologies that we've been focused on in this stream is we're focused more on Tailwind, CSS, Next.js, React, and everything JavaScript. That's what we're trying to get involved into. And this is the guide, right? This is the guide that we are using. So if you want to also go follow this as well, you can follow this right on your hand. So again, we are going to be working inside of the invoice. The invoice, do we have something in the invoice? We don't have anything. I think invoices should be invoices. We should have something. Okay, we don't have anything in the invoices route. So okay, I think is the dashboard / invoices / invoices. So we have the invoices. So when you go to that route, right, what is happening behind the scene is that this is my VS Code. I use VS Code a lot for all the stuff that we are doing. If we check, did I just close my server? I think I just did. Mm, did I just close my server? So we want to do pnpm dev, pnpm dev starts the server hub, and I want to move this into our editor area. That's the first thing here. So invoices is inside the dashboard, right? And inside the dashboard, we have this page, right? And this is what is showing here, right there. And we're going to be filling that up with this code here, right? This code, what this code does basically is importing a pagination component. We have the search, we have the table, and then we have this create invoice button. We have this Lusitana from Google Fonts that we set up already. Then we have this invoice tables collecting, and we have suspense from our React there, and we have this UI. So the UI uses width, full width, right? And this div here uses flex, right, with full width. Then the items are center, and you have justify content on the items there as well. And the class, the font is applied on the H1 here, and the size is, I think this is supposed to be 32 pixel thereabout, or yeah, I think it should be 2 rem on 32 pixel if I'm right. And then we also have this here where you have what margin top of what, I think it should be 1 rem as well. And flex, display of flex, item is centered. So item is centered means that you have, I think, place content. I'm just going to go ahead and copy these and put this in our VS Code and see what we have right there. So we have this here. So we have the pagination. We're not using the pagination yet. We're just using the search. We have the create invoice. So we can go ahead to look at what is inside the create invoice. So inside the create invoice, we have this link, which is a Next.js link, right? And it's linking to href, dashboard, invoice, create invoice. Then you have this display flex, then the height of 2 rem, Then you have align items, and you have border radius. We have background to be blue, and we have padding X, right? Padding left and right, and you have text to be 0 point, what the font size and the line height, and you have the font width to come in there. And basically we have this span, and then we have this icon from our what, our hero icons, react size 24. And basically that's what we have there. And inside of this place we have the search. So inside of this search again we have so again, when you see this use client, so it means that this component is basically only going to be used on the client side. This component is only going to be used on the client side alone, right? And we have this div, with display of position of relative, display flex, and flex of what, size 1, that is the flex grow and the flex shrink, and the basis flex grow and flex shrink is 1 and the basis, right, which is the width of your flex, is 0%. And we also have what, flex shrink of what, 0, right? And we have this label, right? And this means that you don't want basically what this means is you don't want your you want screen reader alone to be able to see this. That's what this means, because when you look at the styles applied here, you have position absolute, right, width of 1 pixel, height of 1 pixel, margin of -1, overflow hidden, and this. So and we have this input, right? We have I don't know what this pair does, but I know what the block does here. We have width full, we have rounded, which is border radius, we have border width, we have the color of our border, and then we have padding top and bottom, right, respectively, to be what, set to a custom value. So this is how you set a custom value in your tailwind, right? You put it in a square bracket, and tailwind automatically applies 9 pixels for both padding top and padding bottom. Then we have padding left to be what, 10, which is 2.5 rem. And we have the small text font size of 0.85875, and we have 1.25 line height, and we have outline, so you have a bit of outline width. And we have some style on the placeholder, right? You're setting a color of gray on the placeholder, and we have this magnifying, also have this relative left. You're applying, because it's absolute, then we can specify what, some specific stuff right there. So we can specify the left, you can specify the top, and we can also give it what, a custom, a computed value here, with height of what, the height of 18 pixel and the width of 18 pixel. And so tailwind is just a bunch of classes that you're applying, and we'll have this translate, right, which does some interesting things. And I think the major thing is, I think, is just rotating along the y-axis, is moving and rotating along the move it, that is, move it along the y by 50%. And this is just a fallback, right? This is a fallback for this variable here. And yeah, it's rotating it, and it's skewing it, and skewing it across this, and scaling it across this. So this is just applying the transformations, right? I think Tailwind by now should be able to give us each values of this transformation here. And you have this text gray. We have this pair focus. I don't know what this does though, but I need to know what this pair in focus does in Tailwind. So if we look at what we have now, we should have something. So we have this UI here where we have this button, And you can see that the label of the button is not showing, and we have this create. This is the create. This create button is supposed to take us to another route. It's supposed to take us to it's supposed to take us to, I think if you click it, it's supposed to take it to your dashboard invoices.create. So you can go back there. And yeah, what else are we to do here? So after we've done this, spend some time from yeah, we've done this. Why use the URL search param? As mentioned above, you will be using the URL search param to manage this search state. So there's always this argument whether you want to use your URL to control what you're searching for. That is, you're using your URL as a state to control what you're trying to search for. All right. It's a common pattern majorly, right? But so here, these are the benefits of using URL system. So it is bookmarkable and shareable. So it means that, I mean, this will give us an opportunity that you can share a specific URL that has the item that you're trying to search for. And also with our server-side rendering and initial loading coming, URL parameter can be directly consumed on the server to render the initial state and making it easy for us to handle the server-side rendering. And also we can do a little bit of analytics behind the scene and tracking, that is having such queries and filter directly in the URL, make it easy for us to track our users' behavior, right, without us requiring additional client-side logic. So to add the functionality, what are the major things that we have to do? There are, so Nextjs client has a particular hook that we call use search params that we're going to be depending on. For those who don't know what hooks stand for, right, hooks are just functions basically that you can pass, that you can call before you return a particular React component, right? And it helps you to be able to track also to be able to track some certain data, right? For example, we have like use state, use effect, and you have use ID. You have different kind of hooks, right? And you can also create your own custom hook, right? You can compose a custom hook that allows us to be able to do some brilliant, interesting stuff. And so we will be tracking things that looks like this when we have page one and when the query is pending. So this will return, right, the object of page one and query of pending back. And we can obviously we can use the use part name to let us to know the current part. Bosse, how are you? I think you should be tired, right? I assume you should be tired. Uh, thanks for sacrificing a lot to just join me. Yeah, it's a sacrifice, I know, and I hope it pays off. I hope all these things pays off. And between, I think I checked all your project that you sent to me. Yeah, they look so great. I think like I was just so happy about it to do. I think I was just happy about the to do one. The to do app makes sense a lot. I like the way you composed the app. Yeah, it's very cool. I was still going to give some feedback around. I think the time one. There's some feedbacks I should give, but yeah, I think in overall you did a good job there. So yeah, just keep it up. I like the color of the to do app as well. The color, the modal, the way to edit. Yeah, I think they are pretty much brilliant. So um, props to you there. All right. So another hook that we are going to also be using, right, is Stanley said she had been present before Bosse came. Okay, but Bosse was the first person that dropped the comment. Sometimes the comment helps me to know who is on, as much as I try to track as many persons who are on or not. Did you guys get to eat something? Or you just jumped on this one here. Uh, I was able to eat though. I was able to eat, and So before me myself came online. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I was just waiting for a couple of persons to join before I started teaching though. Yeah, and I was just trying to finish my food. You were eating during the class. Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I hope we can finish like the whole Next.js stuff today. And I want to just start building something. So I think I'm just going to build like I'm just going to build my personal website. And but I'll try to now incorporate like a lot of I'm just looking for a way to incorporate a lot of these Next.js server side capabilities into my personal website. And I don't know whether I will be able to get like a designer to design for me, because I want somebody to design the UI for me in a way that, yeah, in a way that is top notch. But I'll see what I can do. Right. My current website is it's not shit, but I don't like it anymore. It's not the best. I need something much more better than this. And I need something that has I need something that has blogs, right? That allows me to write. I need something that has so these are tags as well. So tags for all the blog posts. Uh yeah, she sent me a lot of projects. She has been really working hard behind the scene. She sent me a lot of interesting projects that she has worked on. But I hope she's going to start tweeting about it and showing it to the world, because that's the only way you can get, job, right? So, so what this tag does, right? The tags help me to filter, right? It helps you to filter um what happens on this page. It's been a while I've written on my blog post. Sincerely, the days of hustling, yeah, like I've been hustling like for a long period of time. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. Uh, this is just cool stuff, but many of these things require me to just I can always write and show the world all the things I know. For example, now there is array.from async that we can incorporate into all of this. And yeah, there's just a lot to talk about. There's a lot. This is supposed to be credit with S. I just don't know. Maybe we can build something. I'm thinking of building something. I finished building my portfolio site, by the way, not public yet. We'll send when I feel I'm ready to share. Okay, good. Did you use like vanilla JavaScript, or what did you use? I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know. Hmm. Look at the way I look. This is serious. This is me from good old days where Sakwa is trying to fight me and I'm trying to fight Sakwa. Mm, and yeah, there's a lot for me to just do here. Okay, you want to move it to a React project? Okay, yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool to see it in React project. And hopefully, hopefully we can. I can see you move it like something that makes a lot of sense, and Honestly, these are, I can't even imagine that I did all these things. This is with React though. These are just very funny stuff. I just, oh really? I graduated from Lautech Computer Science. I graduated from Lautech Computer Science, and you know, a lot of my friends are, they are cool programmers. They are they are cool programmers. Hmm. Well, it's just interesting to know that you've come a long way when you work hard, and when you try to just this site is still up, right? So a lot of interesting stuff that I've worked on with a couple of friends as well. You just work with your friends on different projects just to make money, survive. Um, you know, that's just they've changed the initial version of what I built. This I was not the one who built this, not myself and my team now. This is a new thing, and I should change the link of this thing. Oh, at least so long as you finish. When people start writing code like you do now, Stanley, most persons want to drop out of school. So I hope you are not entertaining the thought to drop out of school because they think like they just want to go in on coding, and they don't want to they don't want to do any other thing anymore. So I hope you stay strong there and finish well, and yeah, you can always get a job after you're done. But hopefully, whether we create a new website or whatever app we create, but I think maybe looking at an e-commerce website would have made sense. Maybe we can always look at building an e-commerce website or anything. I can't say for now. So another hook that we're going to be use is the use router hook. The use router hook enables us to navigate between routes programmatically, right? So, and there are a couple of methods that you can use. So you can always open the documentation. My call has been shut down since February. It's tiring, but I'm not dropping out or sponsoring myself. I can't let that waste. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. But you've really put a lot of hard work into, like, building a career, writing code and stuff. So I mean, it's win-win for you as the school is not on. Like, it's win-win for you still, and yeah, it's win-win. So here's a quick overview of the implementation. So again, you can see the flow chart, or sorry, the pseudocode, or the step by step. Okay, capture the user input, right? And update the URL with the search param, and keep the URL in sync with the input field, right? And update the table to reflect the search query. So the first thing would have been that we need to capture the user's input. So inside of this search component, we're going to implement some JavaScript event to be able to capture what is going on. And if we go in here, right, as you are typing, we need as we are typing, we need this on change, right? On change to help us to capture the event, and then we want to pass this to what? Undo what? On change. Undo on change. Or handle change. We can say handle change. Let's just call it handle change. And um we want to do a const undo change here. And I think this is basic handle change. As we are typing console.log what is being changed, the value that is coming from that input. So if we save this, we can then go into our app and inspect and go to the console. We can clear this, and as we type dancing, right? So as you are typing, we are tracking what is going on, what is being typed, right? So that's the first step there. Um, Another thing is that so I like, this is the way they implemented it here, but I implemented it in a different way. So would have loved to. So here, I mean, I can still implement it the way they implemented it here. Or so it would have been that inside of this place, they want it to be handle search. So okay, so this would have been, maybe change this to handle search, and we just pick the search term here. And if we pick the search term here, we can type this, and you can see term is going to be what? A string, right? Term is going to be a string, and you want to console.log what? Term, right? You want to console.log the term here, and we then want this to look like what? Take the event, right? And pass this to the arrow function here, and we are able to do this here, and we want to pass this to so you want to pass the exact event dot what? Dot target dot value. You want to pass it down right there. And here is saying that event is what? Argument of type string is not assignable to so what am I missing in the type there? Okay, sorry. This means I was saying that this is sorry. So this would have just meant this is what I mean here. Uh, uh, so we are able to slow this down here, and yeah, we're able to slow this down and save this. I think that this should still work the way we expect it to work, and we can dance here, and you can see the result of what? Dancing here, and it still behaves the way we want it to behave. So another interesting thing that we can also do is that we can then go to the next thing, update the URL with the search thing here. So we need this hook, right? So I could just pick this hook directly from use next navigation, and so we want to call the search params there, right? So here we want to use the hook here. So import first here on this line, and we want to use the hook here on this line. Let's just const search params, right? Is this, and then we are able to pass the search param to a what? We're able to pass the search param to a new URL, a new URL search param. We're able to pass the search params there to this, and we should call this a we should call this a param. Okay, we should call this a param there, and const param. Is it params or param now? I think we're able to call this here and this. So this is initializing a search params that we can use here, and we can make sure this makes more sense. And We can console.log the params as well to see what we have inside the params. And yeah, we have something. And another thing that we can also do is to so if term, right, then we want to set the param else. So basically, if there is, that is, if we have terms, right? So you want to set the param else, right? You want to delete the param, you want to delete the search. So what we have here would have made our app look like a little bit like this. So as we type for, we want to search for maybe shoes, and we would see that we now have we're supposed to have something, a object inside of this place. We have this here, but that's not exactly what we wanted to do. It should have been an object. Have I missed something? New URL search param. Okay, so we're setting it, we're using query, not search. We're using query. And what else? We want to get our path as well. So we want to get our path. Let's just take this. Then where is path coming from? Our path is coming from, okay, what, all of them are coming from navigation. And we're coming from use path, and use router. And we are able to initialize the whole thing here. And we then can call the replace, right, with what? Replace. I think we have this to deal with. So replace, or better still, let's just copy this whole thing to save us time. And we can paste this here. The React use path is called in a function. Is the React is called in a function. Sorry. Hooks cannot be called in a function. Hooks are going to be called outside of the function, right? And this should be fine now. So I think is the replace that is beautiful, because right now our URL is going to now replace with, I think I want to change something from search to query. So we can say query and turn this to query. And we can always delete this to say, so we want to search for shoes. And if you notice now in our URL, right, shoes is coming in the URL. So you have query equals to shoes off the top, right? You have query equals to shoe off the top there. So that is, so what is doing that is what you have this store as a global variable. So you can do temp dot params, right? Temp dot params dot to string of the param, right, returns this. So it is the param that returns this string out to us, and we are able to now replace our URL at the top with query equals to shoes. So as a user is searching for something, right, we have that that particular query equals to whatever they are typing at the top, and then we can now pass that query string to, sorry, we can now pass the query string to off to our database to like return data based on that particular query that we're trying to search. I mean, it's quite pretty, some of these things that we're just able to compose and do here, right? It's quite pretty that we're able to compose all this amazing stuff easily in your Nextjs. And the third thing here is that we want to keep the URL and the input in sync. So we want to set a default value, right? So that I think the idea behind that is there is going to be a problem now if you delete something, right? If you delete this now, okay, if you delete it, it still doesn't. So what else is the default value really doing for us there? So to ensure that the input field is in sync with the URL and will be populated with when you share. So okay, when you share it, you can pass a default value to the input, reading from the search input directly. Hmm. So we can just take this attribute here and bring it inside here. We can just bring this here. So it means that by default, when you reload this page, so if you give this page to somebody, right? And you want the URL you share, the person to have access to it. I think that's what this will do. So that when you give somebody the URL, whenever they open that URL, it is that particular query thing that you're searching that will automatically be in there. I think that's what that is supposed to do. And this is just React internal stuff, right? So since we are not using state or control, right, the default and the value does not affect each other right there. So we need a way to talk to our database now, right? We need a way to talk to our database. And so this is again inside the pagination. Inside the pagination here, so inside the table, we've not even brought in the table. So let's bring in our table. I think there's a table that we have here. There's a table that we have here that we need to make to work. So we have this table, and the table is coming from invoice table, and we can fetch our invoice here, right? You can fetch the invoice here. So if you fetch the invoice here, we can also copy this. We can copy this no store. We can copy the no store, and we can copy this delay as well. You can copy this whole thing right here. So we can paste this here. No, not here. You want to paste it inside of this place. And we want to do no store, no store. We want to do no store, fetching, filtered, invoice data, filter invoice data. And we want to also see that the component was delayed by 30 seconds. We want to also paste that here. So here, this is the interesting query here. This query is selecting from invoice, is joining it with the customer records, and we are filtering right where customer name has that query, right? Or where customer email has our query string that we are passing, or whether where amount has that thing, right? So I mean, this is pretty, very ugly. It's pretty ugly. It can something be pretty ugly, yeah, but it works in the sense that our query from this function here, right, will be passed down to what? It's going to be passed down to all these, and you have what? You're also passing this limit here. You're passing the the constant here, item per page, and you're passing the offset here. So how did they get the offset, right? You want your current page minus 1 multiplied by items per page. So I'm going to explain a little bit of this pagination later on so that we kind of like get an understanding of what is going on here. And if we go back into the table, once we fetch this, once we fetch this, the invoices are mapped, right? And it creates this ID. This key component is here. Then we have this image for all these and we have this the paragraph, the name of the invoice, the customer, then we have the email of the customer, then we have the invoice status, then we have the amount on the invoice, and it also gives us this update invoice component that we can also use. So we can bring this into this place here and enable this whole thing. And if we enable this whole thing, then we're going to need our query to come into this place. We need query, we need pagination to come into this place. And we need this thing here. So what would have helped us to take the query here would have been the hook. I think the hook from navigation, that hook from navigation, which is import, I think use part. If we import the use part, no, not React DOM, we are coming from importing from next / you're coming from next / navigation, and we want to import from, what do we have from that place? We have use part. I think the use part should give us use part. Yeah, use part should give us the full part, and we can control the use part here, and we can we can console.log, we can console.log the path to see what we have in the path. Let me still comment out this so that we are able to log this out. And let's see, let's just test this. Where do we have high? Where do we have high? So we're looking at, let's go to the terminal. What do we have on the terminal? So we have this error. Where's the error coming from? The error is coming from where's the error coming from? The error is coming from where? Invoice page. I think this is the page here. Where do we have high here? I think we don't have any high here. Where is where is give us the dashboard page. Why is it taking so long for the dashboard page to load? Why is it taking a bit for the dashboard page to load? Hmm. Uh, Except if we cannot do what I just did here. Uh, no, I think I know what might be breaking this. Except if we cannot do what I just did here. Except if this line is not valid. Except if we cannot do that in a page component. That would have been the only thing. Hmm. Um, Thinking a bit to save me the number of stress here. Hmm, Compiling the dashboard. Then let's see what we have. And if we go to invoices, and if we go back to, so what we could have done inside there is, instead of going through that route for this page, maybe we'll just allow this page to accept a prop. So we can accept a prop of search params. It allows us to accept a prop of search param, and we can now type that thing. You can type it by, so the page component naturally, I think it accepts the search param. You can open this here, and we can now say search params colon an object, right? Because we want to just take query, right? We want to take query, and query, and is optional, right? So if you want a particular thing to be optional in your TypeScript, you can put it there. And we also take page to be what string, right? So if you pass something like this to this page, if you pass page equals to 1, and query equals to shoe, right? Query equals to shoe, right? So this is, and you can see that the moment I paste that thing in the URL, it automatically filled this place up with the query, right? And I think it should log something down here for us to see. Did it log anything there? So you can see that it started fetching the invoice data, and it also fetched this line. But the thing I didn't know here is it rendered this 3 times. I don't know why it rendered this 3 times. I mean, that's interesting to know why it rendered it 3 times. But why it rendered that 3 times? Hmm. To render those things 3 times. But it's good to know that at least it works. We're able to and if we console.log that filtered invoice, inside of this component here now, inside of this table or inside of the page, if we console.log, because now we have our page, we can set this current page. I think we'll need to set the current page to be something like 1, right? We set the current page to be equals to 1. And so here we have our query already here. Then we need the current page. So current page, to get our current page, we would have just done so you want to do what? You want to get your search params.query, or you default it to empty string, right? And we want to get our current page by converting the search param.page to be equals to what? Convert it to number, or we also default it to 1. And we can now pass this to this component here. We can pass it to this suspense here. So you have this query. So we need invoice. We need to import what? Import suspense from React. Then we need to import what? Import table from this, right? We import our table from that. And what else do we have? Then we need this pagination as well. We want to take the total pages. So how do we calculate the total pages? The total pages would have been the length of the data that is being returned, the length of the data that is being returned multiplied by our constant. I think so, but let me just comment this out until I know what to do. Then we need to import this collecting, right? So we're also able to import this collecting. Yeah, right. So what the collecting does is the invoice collecting. So this is the invoice collecting, and I think we're good to go at least to see what we have. So we can see what we have. So if you delete this, we see that it is fetching the data and it renders this beautiful table. So we have all the paid. Then we have this ability to update, right? And when you click on that, it's supposed to take us to I think we're supposed to enable that button, and we can also delete this as well. But this is beautiful. And so we can search by evil. So this looks like, as we are searching, as you just search now, it passed the whole, like the evil, to the database query, and it only fetched evil out from the database. And I think it's very fast because it's not too slow. It looks very fast, considering that we're also delaying the query by 3 seconds, right? So this looks very fast in the real sense. Then let's say we want to search by Lee. You can search by Lee, you can filter by Lee, and it is able to filter the invoices of Lee Robson. Lee Robson is one of the guys on the Nextjs team. I think everybody in that invoice table are just members of the Nextjs team, but this is beautiful. So the default one is, it fetches the whole thing from the database this way, and it's pretty much so we need a way to know the length. We need a way to know the length of everything, that because we want to use but this is beautiful, right? This is beautiful. The invoice pages is working, and so there is let's look at this in the Firefox. Okay, we have this in the Firefox. Then we're also able to go to invoice, and we're able to say we want to search for something that has letter E, look for names that has letter E, or look for name that has V. And we have Steven, we have Evil Rabbit, and we have Steven again. And yeah, it's pretty much dope that this works. And the next thing would have been to um, and I want to look at something again. Inside of this table here, we are passing this query as prop and this current as prop as well. Mm. Why does the suspense need a key? Why does the suspense need a key? Why do we need to pass a key prop to the suspense? Mm. So when you use the search param hook versus param prop, you might have noticed you used two different ways to extract data. When you use one or the other depends on where you're working. So inside of this search, we used this use search param, and inside of the table, which is a server-side component, we use the search params here. As a general rule, if you want to read the parameter from the client, use the use search param hook to avoid having to go back to the server. So, and then practice the bouncing. So, what is the concept of the bouncing? The concept of the bouncing is to just allow, like, when somebody is still typing, so when a user is still typing something, you don't want your server to quickly like go and fetch something. Hmm. So we should have rendered no search result. There should be some UI for no search result there. So the bouncing will help us to so that the server doesn't make, like, you don't have to go to the server like all of the times, right? You see, as we are typing, you see, you were saying like fetching filtered, right? You see, so you want to avoid it just going to the server all the time, going to server all the time, and control what happens. And that's where the concept of the bouncing comes in, right? And I don't know how they want to implement the bounce, but so it's a programming practice that limits the rate at which a function is fired. In this case, you want to query the database for the user when the user has stopped typing. So we want to like only send, like, it's only when our user has stopped typing that we want this query to the database to be sent out. And to implement that, there is this use, you can implement this in different ways, including manually creating your own debounce function. But to keep it simple, we use a library called use the bounds. So this library, use the bounds, is a React hook for value and callback the bounds. And so it is less than 1 kilobyte. It's compatible with underscore or Lodash implementation, learn once and use everywhere. So we can simple value debouncing would have been use state, then debounce, then so for a value you want to only send the text after 1 second, right? That's the major thing. You only want to you want to search, you want to send us the result of this text to this value only after 1 second. Yeah, that's what you want to do there, and that's what the debounce is doing there. You can use the debounce callback. So it has a callback where this is a debounced. You pass it a function, and that function is going to be, it's only going to call the function after a particular delay. It's going to only call the function after a particular delay. So we're going to, then an example with the scroll is yeah, it's a function that you're passing again, right, after 800 seconds. Okay, where is the subscribe coming from? Subscribe coming from, okay, okay, subscribe is where did they pick this subscribe from? Well, I don't need scrolling too much. um then we also have some advanced usage here, right? This is, it also supports some method to flush out the data. Then it also return is pending back. Okay, and this is powerful. All right, let's just look at how they are implementing the debounce here. So inside the handle search, right, they are going to, so we are going to debounce the handle search function. We're going to just debounce the handlebar. So it's going to only run after 0.3 seconds. Basically, it's only going to run the handle debounce after 0.3 seconds. So in the terminal, we need another terminal to come in. And we want to do pnpm install, I think pnpm add use the bounds. The bounds, is this the name of the component? Use the bounds. Yeah, use the bounds. So this should be part of our package.json. So we now have inside our package.json, we have used the bounds. And when we have used the bounds, what are we able to do? So let's just debounce the whole handle search. The whole handle search. Where's our handle search again? So we want to use the bounced. Okay, so let's just import from we have used the bounds. We want to do import. I think it's a named import, which is what use the bounce callback. And we want to wrap this whole thing inside a open bracket. And when you wrap it inside the open bracket, you want to specify how many minutes, so 300, and you want to use the bounds callback. So then we want to see that how many minutes are you using to carry out the search. So we can always we can always we can always inspect and come to the console here, filter this here, we have this here. So we can now say that you want to search for maybe Steven, right? So it is only going to help us to reduce. It's only when we have stopped searching. So while we are still searching or typing, it will not make the database call until we are done, right? That's when it's going to make the database call, right? So yeah, it makes sense there. And we're also able to just so here this function is wrapped with what the handle search. So it means that it will only like make that search to only when three like your 0.3 seconds is done, right? To handle pagination, we want to move fetch invoice data. So we want to bring fetch invoice data query into our page, and we want to get the total pages. So fetch invoice has fetch invoice. So inside our table here, we also have another. So the next one is what we have this fetch invoice, and it returns the count, right? So basically how the total pages is being calculated is that what it is converting the numbers of count that comes back based on the query that you pass, right? Dividing it by what? So total pages that we have will be like when you divide. So if you have 30 things in the database that is returned, and you divide it by this total number of pages, so 30 divided by 5, so it means that our data can be grouped into 5 pages. That is the total number of what you fetch versus what item divided by items per page. So our pages will be like 5 here. So if we want to implement this now, we'll come into this page here and bring in this line, and then bring this here, and yeah, this will give us the total pages. And so again, for this pagination now, we can implement our suspense for this pagination, right? We can implement our suspense for this pagination. We can implement suspense for this pagination. That is, what that means is that what that would have meant is that, let's see inside this pagination though. So inside this pagination, we have the total pages. It's this gets all, it generates all the pagination, and it expects to have current page. Where are we getting our current page from? We need to get our current page from somewhere. And we also need I think we can always get our current page from, we can pass the current page as a prop. We can pass the current page as a prop to this pagination component here. And so we have this whole thing here, which is something that we're just going to uncomment to learn here. We're going to have there's a function called create URL here that we're going to be writing. Then we need this current page. So this is a pagination arrow component, and this generates all the page. So you give it current page and total page, and it returns an array, right? It returns an array. So it returns an array of what? So it just returns, this basically returns an array of, so we're saying that this is position is first. So position is, if index is equals to 0, position is first. If index is equals to page.length minus 1, position is last. If all pages.length equals to 1, position is single. And if page is equals to this, is in the middle. Then we need this create URL pagination. So where's this create URL coming from? Another thing, that this is a component called pagination URL. So pagination URL accepts href, direction, and disabled. So this is the type. Then this is our class, and we're setting our pointers event, right, and text gray to be disabled. So if it is disabled, we're going to get the CSS. If it's not disabled, like when you hover, so when it's not disabled, you get this CSS here. And then you have the margin right, which is around, margin right. And when we have this on medium screens, you want to do a margin right for. And so if direction is left, you want to get this. If direction is right, we're going to get these values. Yeah. It's all right. Thank you for joining. Right. Thank you. See you. So we have these icons, and the icons is coming from direction is left. So when direction is left, you have this icon. So if it is disabled, we can do a conditional rendering of this div, right? And if it's not, we do you wrap it with a link of the icon. Okay, and then that's what the pagination arrow is doing. And then we have the pagination number below. So the pagination number does something similar. If the position is left, round, what is this? Is it round left now? Here should be round left, and then we have round right. And Z, what does Z stands for in Tailwind background? I need to know what all this stands for. Then return is active or position is middle. This is what we're going to get. Else, we're going to get this. Right. And so we need to create this create page URL. So this create page URL would have been created. So inside the pagination, to get inside this pagination here, let's just import from navigation. So we can import from just import from Nextjs navigation. So we want to import okay, the Z stands for Z index. Thanks. So we have use path name, and we want to also take use search params from next navigation, and we want to construct those components. So you want to do a const search You want to do search params equals to use search params, and you want to do a const path from use path, and we want to get the current page now. Const current page equals to what? So if we don't have page from our search params, we default it to be 1, and we can pass that to this. Then we need to bring in our page URL. So let's check create page URL. Let's check our data from create page URL. Do we have any function here that creates page? Where is our create page? Is it constant or data? Okay, so we can just write that function by ourselves inside of the pagination. So what this would do is we do a const create page URL, right? So based on a particular page, we will be creating the URL for that page. So you want to do a page, and we want the page to be we want the page, let's say page number, and to be either what you want it to be, either number or string, right? And we want this here, and we want it to what? To create the new search params. Create the new search params equals to what? Using the new URL constructor. The new URL constructor, and you pass the search params, and we want to do a params dot set page equals to, so if this number, let's just do this here, instead of using page number, just do number dot to string, and so that will set that params, and we want to replace, now we want to return the path dot params dot to string, and yeah, so this will create a page back for us. We can always pass this create URL page to this here. So we have all the things that we need here to render this whole thing here, and we are able to see what we have here. So we have this interesting, this is the first page here. You delete this, it goes ahead and make the API call. So we have 3 pages, so you can go to the second page, and we can go to the third page. So we can use this to go back, and is able to navigate between each of the pages, navigating between each of the pages. And yeah, it's pretty, I think it's pretty fast what we're able to quickly achieve here. And we also want to set, right? We want to set inside the handle search, inside this handle search here, where's the search component? We can set our page, right? We can set the page. You can do a params dot set page to be equals to 1. So when this loads, right? When this loads, let's assume that we have this here, goes to the dashboard, and we'll come to this invoice here. Yeah, it is very fast, very fast. And it's fetching from the database. And it's really going, because for every new page, it goes to the database to fetch the data. So I'm really surprised at how it is this fast. And I'm also still delaying the data by 3 seconds. So imagine I'm not delaying the data by 3 seconds in a real, like if we have a real situation of a real app and we're not delaying it by 3 seconds, that would have been very fast. Even though I know that Vercel is doing something to the database, Vercel tries to make our database available close to our Nextjs page. So that's something that Vercel is trying to do. So when you create a database on Vercel, they are trying to they make the database closer available to the app, so that the app can easily access the database, so that there won't be too much distance there between the app and the database, which is which is like a plus, for you using Vercel and their infrastructure. So that's like a plus there. So we've done all of this, and we can look at what we have here. Mutating the data. So here we have, this is like the server actions. I've been wanting to understand what they call server actions, and how to work with forms and server components. Then the best practices for working with native form data object, including type validation, how to revalidate the client cache using revalidate API, then how to create dynamic route segments with specific ID. So what are server actions? This is the first time I'm really hearing server actions. I've been looking forward to know what server actions are. So server actions allow you to run asynchronous code directly on the server. They eliminate the need to create API endpoints to mutate your data. Instead, you write asynchronous functions that execute on the server and can be can be invoked from your client or your server components. Hmm. So using forms with server component means that if this is a server component, we can have a action, which is going to be another function, and you can now tell it to use server and make a make a SQL call to your database. And when they click on submit action on the form, right, the form can then go ahead and carry out the action. Okay. So advantage of invoking a server action within a server component is progressive enhancement. Forms work even if JavaScript is disabled. So say somebody disabled JavaScript forms in their JavaScript application, right? It will still work. And Next.js, so server actions also are deeply integrated with Next.js caching. That is, when a form is submitted through a server action, not only can you use the action to validate the data, but you can also revalidate the associated cache using the API like revalidate path and revalidate tag. Mm. So we can go ahead to create an invoice. So inside of, we're creating a new route, and this is what we are pasting in the new route. This is what we're pasting in the new route. So under invoice, we have a new file, and then we can do, I think, create / page.tsx. And we can paste it. If we paste this here, you have this export default async function page. This is fetching from our customers. And if this is fetching from our customers, we still need a way to fetch this. We need a way to fetch the way to so this is fetching customers, fetch the ID and order by name, ascending order. And this is fetching from a particular invoice by the ID of the invoice. Then we can fetch invoices by pages. We can fetch invoices by pages. I think this helps us to return the total number of pages that we have. So here we can, after we've created this route, here we have this form here, and we have the breadcrumb. I think the UI there is, where's the page? So we have this breadcrumb, and it takes label, invoice, href is this, then the other label is create, and active is true. So if we go to here, we are able to, if you click on this create, so create brings us to this place. So we are able to select, and we're able to, so this select list here, this is another beautiful thing. This select is powered by server side component. I think is powered by the server side component, because the form, if we check our form, right, we are passing customers to our form, but this operation in itself is a server side operation, right, that happens on the server, and the server fetches the data, passes the data to the form, and the form passes this data to the select component, right? You can see here that our select uses this customer data. It uses this customer data here. So, and that was very fast, because again, if we reload this whole page, and like instantly we sort of like add our data instantly, so you didn't have to wait for this. So all we want to do is, like, when they create this form, we want to carry out some actions now, right? When they create the form, we want to carry out some actions. That is, so that is where we are going to use our action. So we want the form, we're going to be putting something like actions, right? And we're going to be putting the action there, and here we're going to create what? Create action. And when we create our action right there, so the action there is create invoice. Let's see. No, we're not doing this. Thank you, Copilot. We have this whole thing here. So we have the library of actions, and we put use server at the top, and we want to create this what? Export as sync. And it accepts this form data. So when it creates this form data, it uses the form data API to get form data.get the customer ID, right? To get the amount, to get the status. And if you're working with forms that have many fields, you may want to consider using the .entries method of JavaScript object. Okay. And validate your so we are using Zod. This is my first time of seeing them use Zod for validation. What's the size of Zod? Because I want to know what's the size of Zod. The size of Zod is what's the size? 62 kilobyte. 62 kilobyte. It's still much though, but it's still much. It's still much. That size is a bit much, but um So we use Zord to validate, right? You use this to validate in your actions. So validation means that we are checking what our users are putting in, whether it matches what we expect it to be. So we do like form schema dot omit. So we are omitting ID and that and date. And how do you pass the create invoice? Oh, so you can do a create invoice dot pass. Then so this will pass. Yeah, you can pass your raw data to the create invoice, storing the values, storing amount in cents. Yeah, that is correct. Creating the new date and inserting the data into your database. Hmm. So I can just copy this and put this inside our live.action inside our so we are creating a new action.ts, right? We are creating actions.ts, and we are pasting this whole thing in there. Import from Zord, create the schema, and inside of this we want to accept our hmm, we want to accept our form data. So you want to do we want to accept each one of them one by one from our form data. So we would have just accept each one of them from the form data using this approach. So we want to accept each thing form data. And so inside of our page.ts here, you want to pass in import from actions. Now you want to import action from at library. We want to import from actions, and what we want to bring in there is we want to bring in create invoice, and you want to pass the create invoice action to this form. Okay. And so anytime you try to submit the form, right, the actions is going to be fired. So if we try to fired, then what do we do here? We want to do say 300, and we want to do paid, and you want to create the invoice there. And the log is not going to come in the browser, but the log will be inside of the server, right? The log is going to be inside of the server. So you can see that what we have this customer ID, right? The amount and the status there. And so all we just need to do, the next thing would have been to post. If you go to the VS Code now, the next thing to do would have been to post these actions into, so send it to the database here. And this is where we're going to be writing a create invoice.pass. Right, we're going to create this create invoice.pass, convert amount to what? Convert amount to cents. And we're also going to be to create time, right? Create time and send to database, insert to database. So to convert our amount to cents, what was the provision that he gave to us to convert our amount to cents? Um, Mm. Okay. So we have, so instead of when you pass the whole thing, create invoice.pass. So mm, we can pass the whole customer and amount, right? And or better still, let's just, instead of doing this, let's just pass this whole line into this pass here, and we take this whole line down into this pass, and we can delete this, and we can destructure out, right, of this. We can remove id customer id comma amount and status. So for amount, if we want to convert amount to cent, would have been multiplied by 100. So const amount in cent is multiplied by 100. Then we want to create new time. We want to create a date that, so we want to create the date would have been the ISO string. Then you want to do dot split by t, pick the first data there, and what else? Want to import our SQL component, import SQL. So add Vercel Postgres. We have the SQL function, SQL, that we can use. And we have inside of the SQL function. So you want to do await is going to be an await. So you want to do SQL, pass the template literal, and inside the template literal, we want to pass two things now. Insert into invoice, right? Customer ID, amount, status, and date. And then you want to pass the exact values. And this should work. And then we can also revalidate or redirect. So we can revalidate part, right, and pass it to the part, right? So revalidate, I think I understand what the revalidate does now. So when you create it, right, revalidate sort of like reloads the whole page to make sure that your invoice is fetching like the latest things from the database there. And we also want to redirect when we are done. So redirect, import from Nextjs navigation. We want to import redirect. So when it is done, right, we want to do redirect back to this page. So let's go ahead and try this whole thing out. And let's see what we have on the terminal. And we have these here. Let's just say 1300, and you can create this. And we have this new data here. This is the new data that we just inserted now, because you can see the date here, which is April 6, 2024. And instantly the data came. So it saved the data into the database and instantly it revalidated the whole page. And that's very fast. Again, it is very, very fast. Again. So I think I need a way to just insert a new user into that DB. I need a way to insert a user into that DB so that I can always add new user. Mm, I need Nextjs route. Nextjs. Um, Nextjs. Nextjs dashboard. Where's our dashboard? Vassell. Here's our vassell.com. That is. So I want to create, let me see, select all from customers, and run the query. So we have ID, we have name, we have these there. So it would have just been okay for me to do insert into customers, right? Insert into customers, values. The values would have been, the values here would have been, the values here would have been name. That's going to be it's going to be name, or better still, let's just to insert into this. Then you want it to be name, email, right? And you want image URL. So I think I'm just going to use a image URL, and so we want this to be maybe let's just do this here. And we have email to be, let's say, Timmy at maybe test.com, and the image URL would have been, say, maybe string customers / me, and we can say it's dot maybe png, and let's hope this installs into the database. So this is this here. Insert into this database here. No, that values. Can't we insert into the customers? I should be able to insert into the customers though. So this is this here. Okay, one ran through though. I don't know which one went through, but one went through there. One went through there. Is it just this one that didn't go through? Let's do this. Okay, must have been the previous one of the previous ones that went through. The one with the single values here would have run and went through there. And okay, this works. And if I check the app now, and let's say we go here. So the total customers have increased, and we need to create invoice for this person. So we should be able to see the new person now. The new user is not coming up. Why is my name not coming up? So I need to know why. The data fetch customers. I mean, if we select these to fetch customers, the record is supposed to be here. So why is the record not here? Okay, I think the record is coming in now. The record is coming in now. Then we can set, say, 1,500, and we can say paid, and it can create this invoice. And yeah. So the profile picture is not coming because we don't have a profile picture. So if the person does not have a profile picture, and because inside of this place here, we have customers, right? Asset, I think inside of the asset. So we have these customers here, and so I could just look up a picture on my GitHub. Just look for a picture on my GitHub. Pick this here. Save image as. So you want to save this into desktop. Save this into streaming. Then we want to save it inside this Nextjs dashboard. And you want to save it inside this public. And you save it inside customers. And we want to call it, I think I called it shitemy.jpg. We can use the JPG. Save that. And we should have a picture in there that can work. So it's saying that I can't find, opening the new URL tab, I can't find this html.png. Okay, we called it .png, but we can change it. Can we change? Can we update? We can update the database. We can update this database. So you want to, how do you update database? Update customers, where name is should be able to do this. Let's just do chat GPT update query. Update query. Chat GPT update query SQL. So we can say update something. We want to say this. So look at what this one is giving me. And look at what next. Look at what Chrome is giving us. At least this is better. This is better a little bit. Bring this to the side. Yeah, this is better in Chrome though. I don't know why. This is better in Chrome. We want to update. Where name is equals to lower me Joe, right? And we want to set image. Is it image now? I think it should be image to forward slash customers forward slash me dot png, and let's run this. Column image does not exist. Select. Let's just copy this. Want to do select all from customers. So image underscore URL. So image underscore URL. Yeah, image underscore URL equals to customers forward slash this. And we want to also say, so it's going to change. Those two queries would have been changed. And if we refresh this page now, it's supposed to fetch the image. Let's see. It should refresh the image. Still not able to get the image. It's still not able to get the image. I think if we check VS Code, we have rename What am I supposed to do? I thought I was supposed to rename these to customers. So we're renaming these to this dot jpg, right? Run query, image underscore url, run this. And yeah, we're supposed to be able to fetch all the images now. Okay, good. The name is the long one there. And if we create another invoice, we're able to see this other person, and you want to set it to 999, and you want to say this is pending, and you want to create this invoice. And this is the problem. So this is the problem with JPG. JPG. Select all from customers, and we're able to run this. Customers, we're able to run this whole process, right? And yeah, we're able to run all of this, and we're able to create this beautiful UI here. The other image is still broken. The other image is still broken. Why is this still broken? This is still cached to this one here. And this is the problem with your Nextjs. These are one of the problems with your Nextjs, right? Because this image should have changed because the data from the database has changed, but I guess it is still caching the data somewhere along the line. So the record that fetches this here, you want to pass the no store. Yes, I'm not validating here, I'm not caching here. So why is the other ones caching? The no store means don't cache it. I don't know why it's doing that. No store. I think we are able to we are able to go down back to data, the node store, right? And this that is fetching the customer as well. You want to know store to be on top of this, and We want the no store to be here as well. And we want the no store. So basically, yeah, we are able to, if I test it one more time in the browser, I think it shouldn't be caching any of the images anymore. It's still caching the image. It's still caching the image. What we can do is we can come to the network tab to disable cache. Where's the disable cache? Disable cache. And yeah, it's still caching. I don't know why it's still caching though. But I wish I know why it was still caching. It's not supposed to cache a record anymore, because if we fetch the customer from our DB, oh, oh, I think I know why it's not caching now. So we have the update. So you're updating when the name is this, and you want to set this to a JPG, right? A JPG. The image underscore URL, and this is supposed to cache this. So I think if we run this now with the no cache, yeah, all the images are coming back now. So we are able to make sure that we are fetching the right data. And, so we also want to make sure that we have this right definition inside of the data, the library definitions. We have invoice. Yeah, we were able to make sure inside Chrome so no caching of the data at all anymore. So what would have been left for us to do is to implement the update and the implement of the delete. To implement the update and implement the delete there. So to create a dynamic route segment, I'm almost done. We've done a couple of minutes, so we can create, right click on the invoice, create a new file, right? And we want it to be square brackets of the ID, /edit, right? And we want to do /page.tsx. So this is the page.tsx for the So if we get the content of the pages for the edit would have been this. We can paste this here, and we'll be taking the invoice and these customers from we'll be getting the invoice and the customers from. So inside of our table we have the update, right? And we have the delete. Yeah, those are the two things that we have there. And inside of this place, we need to make sure we get the current invoice that we want to update and the current customer that we want to update. So, and we also want to look at inside of here, we want to check the inside of the button. Inside of the button, invoice. Navigate to your update invoice component and update the href of the link to accept ID. So this accepts ID, right? And yeah, it accepts ID. And so this link here will be, let's change this to dashboard /invoices it's going to be /edit /ID, right? And you want to do a /edit, and we want to wrap all of these in our normal JavaScript here. And we want what's going to do the same thing for what's going to do something similar for the delete functionality. So we want to fetch our customers, right? We want to fetch we'll have to inside of the page here we're able to set params, and yeah, you can see params is set the type of params there, and we can now take the ID out of the params, right? And we have the ID of what we want to delete, and then we can now fetch that specific invoice that we want to delete or specific invoice that we want to update. So we need fetch invoice by ID and fetch customers. So we can I think we can use the promise.all to queue up all the resource here. So I can copy these easily and take this out here. So this is the promise fetch customers, and so this fetches this here, and after it has fetched there, it should allow us to update. So we also need to make sure that this form renders the right thing. So let's see what we have. If you click on update any form, so it takes us to the edit route, right? You see the ID is coming in, and then it allows us to edit, and then we can say the amount is now 13,000. And so we need, when you click this edit now, we want to do some operation, right? We want to do some operation there. So we want to be able to send out another action, right? We want to be able to send out another action, that is, which is a server-side action. So inside of our action, inside of our actions, we want to create another action that is going to be export. We want to create so if we want to write the action to update invoice, that would have just been based on what we have earlier. Get the ID. Are we able to get the ID? Not sure whether this works, but this should work, right? Get the ID from the form schema, then we are able to pass, we're able to convert amounts. I mean, in this case, amount is still going to be in cent here, convert it there. The time does not change because we don't want them to change the time. And I think this should work. And we're able to get the specific invoice. URL should also be updated with the ID, yes. Then pass the ID to the server. Passing the ID as argument won't work. So instead, you can pass the ID. So this is not going to be accepting. This is just going to be accepting. This update invoice is going to be accepting. Don't like that. So it's going to be accepting. Okay, so we need the ID, right? We need the ID, and the ID there is string, comma, form data. So we can take the ID out there, and we want to, so we want to update invoice, set customer ID, set amount, and set status where ID is equals to this, revalidate to this, and redirect back to this. So let's see whether the update is going to work. And so we want to just update this to 1300. It did not work. Let's see whether we have. Okay, I've not passed this update to the form. I need to pass this update action to my form. So we need to pass this to our form. So this is page here. We have this form here, and we need to pass this action here. Undo action, and pass this to update invoice. And so instead of us doing this update invoice here, we need to create a new one using our bind. So we can do something like cost binded update invoice equals to update invoice dot bind, then invoice ID. So we're able to bind the update invoice ID. So the reason why we're binding would be we can't pass the ID directly to this place, right? We can't pass the ID directly to this place. So this will now be update the binded one, right? The binded, let's just say binded, this is going to be binded. Is there a word like binded? Yeah, binded. Let's just put binded update invoice there. And yeah, we should be able to see. So if we put this here, we should see we ran into some error there. So the action, something is failing. Form schema dot pass. What's the error? Is it not able to pass? It's not able to pass because this is using, we're not using the ID here. It shouldn't do this, and I think it should be good to go now. And let's just do this. That we have this here. So it is not able to pass. Our passing is throwing an error. Our passing is throwing an error. Our passing is throwing an error. Yeah. You can go as well. Yeah, thank you so much for staying this long with me. The goal is to try to finish the edit and delete today. There's no going back. It's until I try to fix this before I go back. So we have this. Oh my God. So this would have been create invoice. I think this is supposed to be create invoice. Create invoice dot pass this here, and let's see what is going to work. Okay, that works. So Amy Byrne has now 13 here, and the thing, I think the only thing we're able to invoice is, and I think we can say, oh, she was owing us money before. It's now, so it's 1,300. This is 13,000, and yeah, she's now pending. So we're able to quickly adjust these values here, and this is pretty much good. And the last thing that I want to do today is to try to fix the delete functionality. So basically, the delete functionality would have also worked in a way that we would need, we would have a situation where when you click on the delete button, we're going to be routing you to a place. Or let me see. So we need a delete action. We need a delete action. So we need export. Let's sync delete invoice. And this is just going to await this here. And inside of our page, right? Inside of the page here, we have this here. So wrap the delete button in a form, right? We need to wrap the delete in a form. So inside of our button.tsx here, this is the delete here. We need to wrap this with a form, right? Control wrap abbreviation, and we want to wrap with what? A form. And the action is going to be a, so the binded, so we're just going to do a binded delete invoice, a binded delete invoice, right? Dot bind, and you open the bracket, we pass null for the context, and we're also going to pass the ID, right? We're going to pass the ID. And so how do we create our binded invoice? We're going to do const binded invoice is going to be okay, I think so. Binded invoice is supposed to just be this one here, and yeah, so this is going to be the delete invoice action, and we are able to pass this here to this. So when you click on the trash icon, when we so why is our app throwing this error? Okay, we have this here, and we want to delete. We want to delete. We want to delete the Oluwashitemi one here, and then we can call the delete here. And yeah, I think it went. We just deleted it and it went. And I think that if we check the DB, if we check the DB, and fetch, say we do like a select all from customers, then we should only have one Oluwashitemi there. We still have two. How come? Okay. Yeah. Is the invoice for that person that we deleted, not the customer. It is the invoice for that person that we deleted, not the customer. So this works. So the delete functionality for our invoice is working. And there are some things for us to read, right? So you want to read more about security with server actions, right? Because the server actions is really dangerous because of this ability to be able to just quickly delete something there. And it's quite dangerous because if it falls into the wrong hand, our app, and once we revalidate, we don't need to redirect. So now I know about actions. Before now, I don't know about actions. I don't know anything about actions, but I mean, I'm able to understand and comprehend what actions are doing. That is, you're just talking directly to your server there. So, so subsequent stuffs that we have is the subsequent things that we have next is that we have we want to learn we're going to learn the chapter 13, right, where we are able to, I think here we should be able to, this is, we need to read about security here. In this chapter, you learn how to use our actions to mutate. You also learn about the delivery API and the redirect. So this is security in your this, And we can also read about the next thing would be error handling, right? So our error handling would be in the delete invoice now, you want to inside the action, you want to incorporate your so we can do this error handling inside error.tsx. Are you kidding me? Hmm. So we are able to do this here. I mean, this is not bad. So you want to read error handling, you want to read these are things I'm going to read before the next, then the error.js API, the not found API, and then the not found. Then the next another thing that we'll also do is improve the accessibility. So the accessibility would be we are bringing in ESLint plugin accessibility, using ESLint for accessibility, and form validation, client-side validation. Yeah, we're not doing any client-side validation too, so that's true. Need to do some form of client-side validation. Then in your um, by validating forms on the server, you can ensure that the data is expected format for the database, reduce the risk, and have one source of truth for your validated data. So in your create form component, you want to use the use form state hook from React DOM. So it needs to turn your form into a client-side component. And we are able to um, so we're able to do like some deeper validation with our Nextjs there. So that's and then area labels. We need area labels, and we need to set up authentication. That would have been chapter 5, where if people log in, you want to. So we're going to be using Nexthot. Mm, I've not used Nexthot before as well, so to be good to learn about the Nexthot to see how that works as well. And I know that Nextdot support like Google authentication. It supports it supports social authentication, that is with Google and the other guys, and GitHub for us engineers, and the adding metadata, right, so that we can make sure the title and the description of a page definitely makes sense. So yeah, I think that should be next week. By next week, Saturday, we should be able to get chapter 13 going, chapter 13, 14, 15 going. So for everybody who has stayed with me up to this point, thank you for staying up at this point. I really appreciate you guys. And I mean, it's a lot of learning for me as well. Just learning how all these stuffs work in SJS. It's beautiful bringing all these things together. And it's great that you can bring all these things into all the things that you're doing in React, which is on the client side. We can now bring them into like the server side. And most especially, I think for me, the major thing I really appreciate today is that I learned about actions, and server actions is also coming with React version 19 in our React server component. So being able to look at what actions really look like, and then thinking about the architecture of how you're going to be architecting your pages to have all these cool new features that comes in. Yeah, but much more. Next.js, I think, has lots of interesting API, and I think I like the way that some of the APIs are well built and still allow us to also use some of the web constructs. right? Which is something that the Remix team has been calling them out about, right? They're trying to invent new stuff, right? Rather than going through like the web API standard, so that we're still within writing for the web and developers don't have to learn their own API. That so when you learn the API, you're still within the web ecosystem and you're still able to do like web related stuff. So I mean, it's pretty much all today. Again, it's been a long stream. I think this is the longest I've gone. It's like close to 3 hours teaching. And Friday next week, right, I'm going to be here talking about object basics in JavaScript. And I'm also going to be finalizing some of these other things that we've done today in Nextjs. And so thank you for joining this stream. I really appreciate, and look forward to seeing you all on the next stream.